My name is Daniel Reyes. I'm 34 years old. I'm the founder and CEO of Reyes Capital Group, a real estate development firm based in Austin, Texas. And on the morning of March 4th, 2024, a cold, gray Tuesday, I signed the final paperwork on a $2.4 million property acquisition. The property was a 6-bedroom colonial on Lakeshore Drive in Westfield, New Jersey. It was my father's house, the house he built his entire identity around. The house he threw me out of at 4:47 on a Sunday afternoon in October 2017, 2 suitcases at my feet, while he stood in the doorway and said, and I will never forget these exact words, "You are a worthless failure. Don't come back until you've become something." And honestly, I don't think that day is coming. He lost that house in a foreclosure auction in February 2024. I bought it 27 days later. And no, this is not a revenge story. It's something far more complicated than that. Stay with me. Before I take you back to 2017, to that Sunday afternoon, to the driveway, to the look on my mother's face as she watched from the upstairs window and did nothing, I want to ask you something first. Take 2 seconds, like this video. Subscribe if you haven't. I don't make content to go viral. I make it because I know there are people watching this right now who have heard versions of those exact words. Worthless. Failure. Don't come back, and I want you to stay, because this story ends somewhere those words could not predict. Drop your location and local time in the comments right now. I want to know where in the world you're watching this. And answer me this. Has someone in your family ever written you off completely before the story was even finished? Type, "Not done yet" in the comments if that's you, because I wasn't done. Not even close. My full name is Daniel Alejandro Reyes. I was born on June 3rd, 1990, in Newark, New Jersey, the second of 3 children of Roberto and Carmen Reyes, Colombian immigrants who came to the United States in 1985 with $800, $2 suitcases, and a plan. My father, Roberto, everyone called him Bobby, was not a bad man. I want to say that clearly and early because this story gets complicated, and I don't want you to make him into a cartoon villain before you understand him. He was a driven, proud, first-generation American success story. He started as a line cook, worked his way into restaurant management. By the time I was 8 years old, he owned 2 restaurants in Essex County, a modest investment property in Elizabeth, and a reputation in our community as the man who made it work. He was also the kind of man who believed, truly, deeply, in his bones believed, that success looked one specific way. And that if you weren't walking that path, you were wasting your life. My older brother, Marco, was 21 months ahead of me. Marco was the blueprint, pre-med at Rutgers, then medical school at UMDNJ, then a residency in orthopedic surgery. My father used to introduce Marco at family parties before Marco had even graduated high school. "This is my son Marco. He's going to be a surgeon." Like it was already written. Like Marco had been delivered to the family with a destiny pre-installed. I was supposed to follow. That was the plan. Daniel follows Marco. Daniel becomes a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or some variation of the 3. Daniel makes the family proud. Daniel justifies the sacrifices, the double shifts, the missed vacations, the 5 a.m. drives to the farmer's market to get the freshest produce for the restaurant at the lowest price. Here's the problem. I was not Marco. I was never Marco. I understood this about myself by the time I was 11 years old, sitting in my father's car outside a Barnes and Noble in Paramus, reading a book about Warren Buffett that I'd bought with my birthday money, while Marco was inside getting a biology textbook. I wasn't reading it for school. I wasn't reading it because someone told me to. I was reading it because something in that book, the way Buffett talked about buying undervalued things, about patience, about seeing what others couldn't see yet, felt like a language I already spoke. My father looked over at me and said, "What are you reading?" I showed him the cover. He made a sound, not quite a laugh, not quite a sigh, something dismissive somewhere in between. "Business books," he said, "for people who couldn't make it in a real profession." I was 11. I put the book in my bag and didn't mention it again for 6 years. Here's the thing about growing up in a home where one child is the golden standard. You don't just feel unseen. You feel like your actual self is the problem. Like the interests you have, the way your mind works, the things that light you up, those things are inconveniences. Mistakes, deviations from the correct path. I played baseball through middle school. My father came to maybe a third of my games, and when he did come, he spent half the time on his phone managing restaurant business, and the other half telling me what Marco had scored on his last chemistry exam. I was good at math. Not textbook math, real math, pattern math. I could look at the family restaurant's weekly sales figures when I was 13 and tell my father which days were underperforming and why. I showed him once a little spreadsheet I'd made on a yellow legal pad. He looked at it for about 4 seconds and said it was cute. Then he handed it back. By high school, I had stopped trying to show him. My sister, Sophia, the youngest, 4 years behind me, was different from Marco and me in almost every way. She was loud, artistic, funny, and completely unbothered by my father's approval. She got it anyway somehow, the way youngest children sometimes do. She was his comic relief, his heart. He never demanded anything from Sophia. She was just supposed to be happy. Marco got the pride. Sophia got the love. And I got the expectation, the one I could never quite fit into, no matter how hard I tried. Junior year of high school, I applied to a summer business program at NYU's Stern School, competitive program. I got in. I came home with the acceptance letter shaking, genuinely, physically shaking, because I thought, this is it. This is the thing that will finally make him see me. My father read the letter. Set it down on the kitchen table, looked at my mother, then looked at me. Daniel, this is a business program. I know, Pappy, it's NYU, Marco is taking MCAT prep this summer. Did you look at MCAT prep programs? That was the whole conversation. I went to the NYU program anyway. I paid for it myself with money I'd been saving from a part-time job at a hardware store. I didn't tell my father until the morning I left. He didn't say goodbye. I need to skip forward now, to the specific night that broke everything. It's October 2017. I'm 27 years old. I have a bachelor's degree in finance from Rutgers, which my father attended exactly 0 graduation-related events for, because Marco's medical board certification dinner was the same weekend, and someone has to be there for Marco. And I have spent 4 years working as an analyst at a mid-size commercial real estate firm in Manhattan called Hartwell Properties. 4 years. Good years, actually. I had worked my way from junior analyst to senior analyst. I'd helped structure deals worth a combined $180 million. My direct supervisor, a woman named Linda Ackheffer, had told me 6 months earlier that if things kept going the way they were going, I'd be on track for a VP role by 30. I had also, in those 4 years, begun building something on the side. Small, quiet, a partnership with a college friend named James Park. We had pooled $40,000 between us and made our first investment, a distressed 2-family property in Irvington, New Jersey. We bought it for $118,000, spent $31,000 renovating it, and sold it 11 months later for $209,000. We took that profit and did it again. Then again. By October 2017, Rays Park Holdings, which is what we were calling ourselves very officially on a Google Doc, had completed 4 transactions. We had $280,000 in working capital. We had a real estate attorney on retainer. We were not a company yet, but we were becoming one. I was not telling my father about any of this, not because I was ashamed, because I already knew what he would say. Real estate, you want to be a landlord. You went to Rutgers for this. What I was doing that October was living at home, temporarily. My lease in Hoboken had ended in August. I'd been slow to find a new place, and my mother had offered me my old room for a couple of months while I sorted things out. My father had agreed, with a 3-month expiration date and a number of ground rules that he'd written down on a piece of paper like I was 17. The night in question was Friday, October 13th, 2017. James and I had just gotten word that a small commercial property in Newark, a mixed-use building on Ferry Street, 2 storefronts and 4 residential units, had come back to market after falling out of contract. The asking price was $620,000. We had been watching this property for 8 months. We knew it. We had done the comps, the pro forma, the inspection reports. If we could close on it, our analyst told us it would cash flow positive within 18 months and be worth between $850,000 and $1.1 million within 5 years. The problem? We needed to move fast, and we needed bridge financing. We needed $150,000 in capital within 10 days to secure the earnest money and cover closing costs. I sat at the kitchen table that Friday night and I made a decision I had never made before. I was going to tell my father, not to ask permission, not for his approval, to make a business proposal. He had capital, his restaurants were profitable, he had equity in the investment property in Elizabeth, he had savings. I was going to present it to him the way I would present it to any sophisticated investor. Terms, timeline, risk factors, return projections. I had a folder. Printed documents, a bound summary report that I'd made at a FedEx office that afternoon. I set it on the table in front of him at 9:15 p.m. He was watching a game. He muted it. I talked for 12 minutes. I was calm. I was specific. I knew my numbers cold. When I finished, he looked at the folder. He didn't open it. "So you've been doing this," he said, "behind my back." "I haven't been hiding it, Pappy. You've been living in my house. Working at this company during the week and doing this real estate scheme on the side without telling me. It's not a scheme, we've made 4, and now you want my money. I want to offer you an investment opportunity, 12% annual return or equity participation if you prefer." He stood up. "Daniel." His voice had gone very quiet. "I am not giving you money for this. I want you to hear me. You are 27 years old. Your brother is finishing his residency. He is going to be a surgeon, and you are here asking me to fund a side hustle like some kid on YouTube. Marco is great. This has nothing to do with. It has everything to do with it because I look at you and I see wasted potential. I see a smart boy who was too lazy to do the real work, who took the easy path, and now you want me to validate that. I'm not asking for validation, I'm asking for capital." He pointed at the door, literally, like something from a movie. Except it wasn't a movie. It was my father in his living room in his reading glasses and his socks. "You have until Sunday," he said. "Find somewhere else to live." I thought he was angry. I thought he'd sleep on it. Sunday came. 4:47 p.m. 2 suitcases in the driveway. "You are a worthless failure. Don't come back until you've become something, and honestly, I don't think that day is coming." I looked up at the window. My mother was standing there. She had her hand pressed against the glass. She did not come outside. I put the suitcases in my car. I drove to James Park's apartment in Jersey City. I slept on his couch. I did not call my parents. For the first 11 days, I did not call them because I was waiting to feel something other than rage. After that, I did not call them because they did not call me. Not once. Not even to check if I was alive. Drop a comment if you know what it feels like when silence is louder than anything they ever said to you. James Park's couch was a sectional, which was generous of it. It was also, as James apologetically noted, about 6 inches shorter than I was. I am 6 feet 2. I slept on that couch for 41 days. In those 41 days, I closed the Newark deal. I want you to understand how that happened, because it didn't happen through luck or connections or some windfall. It happened because Linda Acaffer, my supervisor at Hartwell Properties, sat across from me in her office on the 3rd day after I left my parents' house and said, "You look terrible. Tell me what's happening." I told her. All of it, the business, the property, the money gap, my father, the driveway, the suitcase. She listened. She didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she said, "How much do you need?" $150,000. She leaned back in her chair. "I'll loan you 75. 7%, 18-month term. Bring me a promissory note Monday morning." Linda Acaffer. 53 years old, Nigerian-American, 28 years in commercial real estate. The woman who called herself relentlessly unsentimental, and then loaned a 27-year-old kid $75,000 based on a 12-minute pitch and 3 years of watching him work. The other $75,000 we cobbled together from 3 private lenders, a personal line of credit, and James maxing out 2 credit cards that I still feel mildly guilty about. We closed on the Ferry Street property on November 22nd, 2017. 40 days after my father put me out. I ate a $4 bodega sandwich to celebrate. The next 2 years were not glamorous. I kept my job at Hartwell during the day and worked the property nights and weekends. I managed contractors, dealt with tenant disputes, handled every permit application and variance request personally because we couldn't afford a property manager yet. There was one February night in 2019 when a pipe burst in one of the residential units at 2 a.m., and I drove to Newark in a snowstorm to help the plumber because I couldn't afford an emergency premium and had to be there to supervise. I ate hospital cafeteria food more times than I'll admit, not because I worked at a hospital, but because it was the cheapest hot food within walking distance of a property I was renovating in 2019 that happened to be across the street from a medical center. There were months where I paid myself $1,800 and put the rest back into the business. There were months where I paid myself nothing. In 2019, I moved into one of the Ferry Street units. The least desirable one, ground floor, north-facing, no real natural light. I hung string lights and bought a second-hand couch and called it an apartment. It was 620 square feet. It was mine. My mother texted me in March 2019, not a call. A text. It said, "Daniel, how are you?" I stared at that text for 4 hours. I typed and deleted 11 different responses. I finally sent, "I'm well, thank you for reaching out." She replied, "Good. Your father asks about you." I did not respond to that, because my father could have asked me about me. He had my number. He knew where to find me. He chose not to. What I had in the absence of family, James, who became not just my business partner but genuinely one of my closest friends. Linda, who became a mentor and eventually an investor. A therapist named Dr. Amara Osai, who I started seeing in 2018 and who helped me understand, slowly, imperfectly, that my father's words were a statement about his limitations, not my potential. And the work, always the work. By late 2019, Rays Park Holdings had acquired 3 more properties. We were generating $18,000 a month in net rental income. I'd left Hartwell and gone full-time on the company. We changed the name to Rays Capital Group in early 2020, James's idea. He said the name Rays had become synonymous with the work, and he was right. The pandemic hit 2 months later and everything nearly fell apart. That's a whole separate video, but we made it through. By 2021, we had survived something most real estate operators didn't, and we were stronger for it. By 2022, we were real. I'll tell you where I was by the end of 2023, 7 years after my father put 2 suitcases in the driveway. Rays Capital Group had a portfolio of 31 properties across New Jersey, Texas, and Georgia. Total portfolio value, approximately $47 million. Annual revenue, $6.2 million. I had 11 full-time employees, real people with salaries and benefits and retirement accounts. We had won 3 industry awards, including a rising firm recognition from the National Association of Real Estate Developers. I had moved in 2021 to Austin, Texas, a deliberate choice, a city I believed in before most people were talking about it. My firm had been central to 3 mixed-use development projects in the East Austin corridor, 2 of which had been featured in the Austin Business Journal. I owned a house, a real one. 3 bedrooms, a yard, a dog named Walter, a 7-year-old basset hound I'd adopted from a rescue in 2020 during the pandemic, and honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made. I had a relationship, a real, healthy, honest one with a woman named Rachel, a landscape architect from Portland who'd moved to Austin in 2019 and who had watched me build this company from the inside and still somehow liked who she saw. I had a life, a genuinely good life. But I want to be honest with you, there was still a room inside me locked, not removed, where I kept all of it. My father's voice, the driveway, my mother at the window, the silence that followed. I'm not telling you I spent every day in pain. I didn't, but I spent some days there, some nights. Dr. Osa and I had talked about this a lot. She called it the unresolved conclusion, the story that didn't have an ending yet. I didn't know in January 2024 that the ending was coming. I found out about my father's financial situation the same way I find out about a lot of real estate matters, a public notice. James forwarded it to me on a Thursday morning in late January 2024. A text with a screenshot, no message, just the image. It was a notice of sheriff's sale. Essex County, New Jersey. Property, 44 Lakeshore Drive, Westfield, NJ 7090. Owner of record, Roberto J. Rays. Scheduled auction date, February 22nd, 2024. I sat with my coffee going cold in my hand for a long time. My father's restaurants had struggled. I'd heard from Sophia. My sister and I had quietly maintained a relationship, careful and limited, like 2 people navigating a room where the furniture had been rearranged in the dark. She'd told me in 2022 that the restaurants had taken serious losses during the pandemic, that my father had taken on debt to keep them afloat, that things were not great. But she hadn't told me it had gotten to this point. Foreclosure, on the family home, the house I grew up in. The house my parents had bought in 1998 for $340,000 and had been the centerpiece of every holiday, every family gathering, every memory of a childhood that was complicated but still, underneath it all, mine. I need to tell you what happened inside me in that moment because it wasn't what I expected. I didn't feel satisfaction, not even a flicker of it. I felt something much stranger and much older than satisfaction. I felt sad. Genuinely, simply sad. For the house. For my mother, who I knew loved that house more than almost anything. For the version of my father who had worked so hard and believed so much in what that house represented and was now, at 71 years old, losing it. I called James. "Did you send this to me as information or as an opportunity?" I asked. "Both," he said. "I'll follow your lead." I called Sophia that afternoon. She answered on the second ring. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said. "How bad is it?" A pause. "He owes $380,000 in back mortgage payments and penalties. The auction is in 3 weeks. There's no one who can cover it, Daniel. Marco tried to pull together some money, but he's got 3 kids and a practice loan and he can't come close." "Where are they living?" "Still in the house, until the auction." "Does Pappy know I might be aware of this?" "I didn't tell him. I didn't know you were going to find out." "Does he know what's happening, fully?" Her voice got quieter. "He knows he's not. He's not handling it well. He doesn't leave the house much anymore." I thanked her. I hung up. I called my attorney, then my financial advisor, then James again. The property, a 6-bedroom colonial in Westfield, NJ, had an estimated market value of $2.01 to $2.4 million. The auction starting price would be set at the outstanding debt, which James's research confirmed was $1.2 million, including all fees and penalties. I had the capital. I sat in my home office in Austin, Texas, with Walter asleep on my feet, and I made a decision that I still don't fully know how to explain. I was going to buy that house, not to hurt my father, not to stage some cinematic moment of revenge. For reasons that were more honest and more complicated than that, which I'll tell you in a moment. But first, I needed to call my mother. I called my mother on a Sunday morning in early February 2024. February 4th. A gray, still morning. I know because I'd taken Walter for a walk first, trying to figure out what I was going to say, and I remember thinking the sky looked exactly the way it had the day I drove away from that house in 2017. She answered immediately. Like she'd been waiting. "Daniel." Just my name. Her voice broke on the second syllable. She'd been waiting 7 years to say it like that. "Hi, Mama." We talked for 47 minutes. I'll spare you most of it. It belongs to us. But I'll tell you what mattered. She knew. She had known for years what her silence had cost. She told me that. She said it plainly, without deflecting. "I should have come outside. I've known that since the day it happened, and I haven't stopped knowing it." I asked her if she knew I'd been researching the property. She said no. I told her what I was planning. She was quiet for a very long time. Then she said, "What do you want from this, Mijo?" "I want to know if you need a place to live," I said. "And I want to know if Pappy is willing to have a real conversation, not an apology performance, a real one." She said she didn't know. I said I understood. I told her I was moving forward regardless, because the opportunity made financial sense and because, and this was the truest thing I said that morning, I don't want strangers in that house. On February 22nd, 2024, the sheriff's auction for 44 Lakeshore Drive occurred. I had a representative present. We bid $1.47 million, slightly above what was needed to satisfy the debt and displace any competing bidders, and we secured the property. On March 4th, 2024, I flew to New Jersey for the first time in 7 years. I signed the final documents at a title company in Short Hills. My attorney was there. My representative was there. I requested that my parents be there too. My mother said she would come. She didn't know if my father would. He came. I arrived at the title office at 9:15 a.m. They were already seated in the waiting area when I walked in, my mother in a dark blue coat, her hair shorter and grayer than I remembered, her hands folded in her lap. My father in a suit jacket that was slightly too large for him now, sitting very straight, the way he always sat when he was afraid. He was 71 years old and he looked like a man who had grown smaller. I had imagined this moment or something like it many times over 7 years. In every version, I knew exactly what I would feel. Anger, vindication, grief, something clean and cathartic and definitive. What I actually felt walking into that room was complicated. My mother stood up first. She walked to me and put her hands on my face. She was shorter than I remembered. Her hands were the same. I had to press my lips together very hard for a few seconds. "Me Ammer," she said. Just that, my father stood up slowly. We looked at each other across the room. He had aged considerably. There were deep lines in his face that hadn't been there before, and something in his eyes, a specific quality of pride, the bright, unyielding thing that had always lived there, was diminished. Not gone, but quieter. He looked at me for a long time. Then he looked down. "Daniel," he said. His voice was different, rougher. I heard about what you've built. Sophia told me, and I've read about your company. I waited. I was wrong, he said, about what I said to you. He couldn't look at me when he said it. He said it to the floor. And I thought, watching him, this is the most it costs him to say anything. This is the maximum it's ever cost him. And it was still less than what it cost me to hear it 7 years ago in a driveway. I didn't say it's okay, because it wasn't fully. And I had promised myself I wasn't going to perform forgiveness I hadn't finished earning yet. I said, "Thank you for coming." We sat down. We signed the documents. I became the legal owner of 44 Lakeshore Drive, Westfield, New Jersey at 10:48 a.m. on March 4th, 2024. Drop a houses in the comments if this is hitting different right now. We didn't stay in the title office long. I had arranged for us to go to the house afterward. I'd asked Sophia to meet us there, and I'd asked, without fully explaining why, that she bring a woman named Linda Ackheffer. Linda had flown in from Charlotte, where she'd retired 2 years earlier. When I called and told her what was happening, she said, "Of course I'll be there. I want to see this." We arrived at the house at noon. It felt surreal, standing in that driveway again, smaller than I remembered it being in the scale of my imagination. But exactly the same in every physical detail: the blue shutters, the oak tree, the crack in the front walk that had been there since I was 12 and that my father had always meant to repair. My father stood next to me, and I could feel him working very hard to hold himself together. We went inside. The house was mostly intact. My parents hadn't had a chance to pack much, and I told my attorney to communicate that there was no rush on their exit timeline, that we'd figure it out. The living room was the same. The kitchen table where I'd set down that bound summary report in October 2017 was the same. Sophia arrived 30 minutes later with Linda. My father recognized Linda immediately. He'd met her once years ago at a work event I'd brought him to in a moment of optimism. He looked confused. "Why is she here?" he asked quietly. "Because she has something to say that I think you need to hear," I said, "and because she earned the right to say it." Linda sat down at the kitchen table. She had a folder, not unlike the one I'd had 7 years ago, and she opened it. "Roberto," she said. She's always called him Roberto, never Bobby. "I have known your son for 11 years. I watched him work at Hartwell for 3 years. I loaned him $75,000 in November 2017 because I believed he was the best read on real estate I'd encountered in 20 years in this business. I want to show you something." She laid out a timeline, a printed, documented, specific timeline. Every major transaction Rays Capital Group had completed from November 2017 to December 2023. Every milestone, the pro forma on the Ferry Street property, the exact same analysis I'd presented to my father at this kitchen table, alongside the actual results 5 years later. The property had sold in 2022 for $1.05 million. My father looked at it for a long time. "The analysis he showed you," Linda said. "In 2017, I reviewed it. It was accurate. His projection was conservative. The actual return exceeded it." My father's jaw tightened. "I know," he said. "I don't think you do," Linda said, not unkindly. "I think you were protecting him from a risk, but you weren't. You were protecting yourself from the discomfort of seeing him as something other than a version of Marco. And that's a different thing entirely." The room was very quiet. My father looked at me. "I know I was wrong, Daniel. I've told you. You told me 45 minutes ago," I said. "For the first time in 7 years." He flinched. "I called once," my mother said suddenly. She'd been sitting in the corner so quietly I'd half forgotten she was there. "In 2019, you texted back." "I know. I should have called again. I should have called every day until you answered. I know that." Her voice was steady, but her eyes were full. "I chose the path of least resistance with your father my entire life. I kept the peace. I thought keeping the peace was the same as keeping the family. I know now that it wasn't." Sophia, from across the room, "I used to cover for both of you. I'd tell Daniel things were fine at home when they weren't, because I didn't want to be the bridge between two sides of a war I didn't start. I'm sorry, Daniel. I should have been louder." I looked at my family, broken in the very particular way that families break when pride and love get tangled up for too long and no one knows how to separate them. "I'm not here because I want to punish anyone," I said. "I want you to understand that. I bought this house because it made financial sense, and because I meant what I said to Mama. I didn't want strangers in it, and because I needed to walk back into this room. I needed to stand in this kitchen and be the person I became without your blessing, Pappy, and have you see it. Not to win, just to be seen." My father looked at the table. "I see you," he said. His voice cracked on the last word. I believe he meant it. I believe he had been seeing me finally at some cost for a while. But I also know that seeing someone is not the same as saying so. And saying so is not the same as showing up. And showing up consistently, over time, is the only thing that actually means anything. "I know," I said. "We have work to do." Type "seen" in the comments if you've been waiting for someone to finally really look at you. Let me be clear about something. Buying the house was not the revenge. The house was a real estate transaction that happened to involve a property with personal significance. The market in Westfield was solid. The acquisition price was favorable. There are easier stories to tell, ones where I orchestrated some grand, dramatic confrontation. But this is not that story. The consequences my father faced were not designed by me. They were designed by the choices he made, compounding over years. The restaurants were gone. One had closed during the pandemic. The second had limped along until 2023 before the bank called the note. The investment property in Elizabeth had been sold in 2021 to cover debt. The house in Westfield had been next. He was 71 years old, and he was starting over in a way he had never imagined. The immigrant work ethic that had built everything had not been enough to adapt when the landscape changed. That's a particular kind of humbling. I don't celebrate it. I genuinely don't. What I had arranged, which I discussed with Sophia and my attorney, was a lease agreement. My parents could remain in the house. Market-rate lease, legally documented for 2 years with an option to extend. I was not giving it to them. I was not charging them symbolic rent. I was creating a fair, clean arrangement that allowed them stability while their situation was what it was. My father balked at first. "I'm not going to pay rent to my own son." "You're not paying rent to your son," I said. "You're paying rent to a property management company, Raise Capital Group, LLC. We have 1,200 tenants. You're one of them." It was the first time I saw him almost smile. Almost. He signed the lease. He paid the first month's rent. It was $3,200 a month, genuinely below market for that property, which I justified to James as a tenant retention discount for long-term occupancy prospects. James did not buy that justification, but he didn't argue. What I also asked for clearly, directly, without negotiation, was accountability that had nothing to do with the house. I asked my father to call his brother, my Uncle Hector, who had been told for years that I was struggling and throwing my life away. I asked him to call the priest at our family's church, Father Benedetto, who had once sat my father down and counseled him that his disappointment in Daniel was a burden the family needed to carry together. I asked him to call them and tell them the truth, what I'd built, what he'd said, and that the version of me they'd been given was not the real one. He did it. I know because Hector called me afterward, crying. He said, "Daniel, your father called me for 45 minutes. He cried the whole time. He wanted me to call you and tell you he loves you. He said he was too ashamed to do it himself yet." That yet was the most important thing my father had ever communicated to me. I called him back that evening. We talked for 20 minutes. It was awkward and incomplete and tender and strange. It was the best phone call we'd had in 7 years, which is a low bar and also a starting point. This is the part of the story that the internet doesn't find satisfying, the part where nothing dramatic happens, where there's no third act twist, just the slow, difficult, real work of repair. It has been, at the time I'm recording this, about 11 months since that morning in the title office. My father and mother are still in the house. My father has started a small consulting role with a restaurant group in Newark, advising on operations. He's good at it. He's always been good at it. He seems lighter, doing work he's good at without the weight of ownership on it. He and I talk on the phone every 2 to 3 weeks. These calls are not yet the calls I used to imagine having, easy, warm, comfortable. They're careful. We're both careful with each other in a way that is part hurt and part respect, and part the strange new etiquette of 2 people learning to talk to each other without the old scripts. He has not once tried to give me business advice. That, if you knew my father, is transformation. My mother and I talk every Sunday. These calls are longer and easier. She has been seeing a therapist, a couples therapist she and my father started seeing in April, which was something I would not have predicted in any timeline. She told me it was hard. She also told me she looked forward to it in a way she hadn't expected. "I've spent 50 years keeping the peace," she said on one of our Sundays. "I'm learning what I actually think. It's terrifying. I highly recommend it." Marco and I have exchanged emails. Careful, formal, real. He reached out first in March after Sophia told him what had happened. His email was 4 paragraphs and took him clearly a long time to write. The last line was, "I always admired what you were building, even when I didn't say so. I should have said so." I wrote back, "I'm not ready to talk on the phone yet, but the door is open. Sophia and I are good. Sophia and I have always been the most intact part of the family, honestly. We've started a tradition of a monthly video call, just the two of us, where we agree to talk about literally anything except family dynamics. It helps." Rachel came with me to New Jersey in June. She met my parents for the first time. My mother cried within the first 10 minutes and made her eat 3 separate things and asked if she wanted to take anything home and basically behaved like a woman who had been waiting years to feed her son's partner. My father shook Rachel's hand, looked at her, looked at me and said, "She's very good," which from Roberto Reyes is roughly equivalent to anyone else writing a 1,000-word toast. The house is the same. Smaller still than in my memory. The crack in the front walk is still there. My father has not repaired it. I think he's waiting for the right weekend. I think I might help him with it sometime. It's not perfect. It's not the childhood I deserved or the reconciliation I used to fantasize about, clean and complete and final. It's real, which is both smaller and larger than what I imagined. I'm 34 years old. I run a company. I have a partner who sees me. I have a dog who loves me unconditionally, and in exchange requires very little except approximately 4 walks a day and 1 ear scratch approximately every 7 minutes. And I have a family that is, slowly, learning to see me. Here's what I want to leave you with. My father called me a worthless failure. He meant it, in the moment. He meant it the way people mean things when they've confused their expectations with reality for so long that they can't tell the difference anymore. The truth didn't care what he called me. The truth just kept going. It kept compounding the way good decisions compound. It kept building the way a portfolio builds slowly, then faster, then in ways that are hard to explain to people who weren't watching the whole time. The truth doesn't expire. It doesn't need your family's permission to exist. It doesn't need to be witnessed to be real. If you are somewhere in the middle of your story right now, if someone has looked at what you're building and called it a scheme, a waste, a disappointment, I need you to hear this. You are not obligated to wait for them to see it before you believe in it yourself. Stop waiting for their eyes to confirm what you already know. See yourself first. That's not bitterness. That's not giving up on reconciliation. It's just understanding the order of operations correctly. You have to be real before they can recognize it. And if they never do, if the relationship stays broken, you still get to have built the thing. You still get to have lived the life. The house on Lakeshore Drive is an asset in my portfolio. It's also the place where I proved to the only audience that ever really mattered that I was not the version of me someone else invented in their disappointment. I'm not asking my father to be someone he isn't. I'm not asking for the father I wish I'd had. I'm asking, slowly with appropriate protection, for the father he's capable of being now. That's a different and more honest question. And I think, carefully, with appropriate humility, the answer might be getting better. What would you have done? If you found out your family was losing their home, the home they'd thrown you out of, would you have walked away? Would you have stepped in? Would you have done something in between, messy and human and hard to explain? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if you're carrying someone's dismissal of you right now, a parent, a sibling, a partner, whoever, and it's making you question what you know to be true about yourself, you are not done yet. You haven't even gotten to the good part. Next week, I'm going to tell you the story of the first deal that almost destroyed the company, the deal that nearly cost me everything in 2020, and the decision I made at 2 a.m. that saved it. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Subscribe. Drop your location. You know what to do.